I want to start off with just saying thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be back in West Hollywood. Good morning to everyone that showed up. I'm excited to talk to you all about the value of public space in our cities and how WeHo can think creatively about integrating POPs and parts into their public realm network. So my name is Sofie Kvist. I'm an urban designer and landscape architect. And I work for a company named Gehl. And a bit about the company. It was founded in Copenhagen, but we work all over the world. We work in large and small cities, suburbs, rural areas, and with a lot of different types of clients and communities, from public sector, working with cities and regional entities. We also work with nonprofits and community groups, foundations, and private developers. We work on a lot of different project types and across a lot of different scales, from like big urban, citywide urban strategies and mobility plans, down to designing public spaces and seating in public space. So really expansive across a lot of different scales, and always whether it is the client that we work for or other local firms, because we only have offices in 3 places in the world, which is San Francisco, New York, and Copenhagen. Where I'm from originally, you might hear a slight accent on my English. That's why. And we know that the only way to do good work is by working with the communities in the places where we have projects. From decades of research and strategies and working with design all over the world, we know that cities can be harsh places. And in our work, we center people and the lived experience, and we talk about the soft city, which is really about putting people at the center of design and strategic work, and putting people and their needs and desires at the center of decision making. So what is a soft city? Well, a soft city we define as interconnected, permeable, walkable, designed at human scale, social, and safe. And softening the city is really about welcoming ease, comfort, and care into our everyday life, to build resilient communities for people of all ages, backgrounds, and abilities to thrive. And we believe that by centering the lived experience and public life and transforming our built environment through that lens, based on an understanding of what people need, want, and care about, multiple other benefits will follow. We build our works on decades of understanding what makes people tick. We've been researching human habitats and working with redesign and transformation and implementation of public space, and also monitoring the impact. We work with big data, and we work with what we call thick data, which is really about getting down onto the ground and talking to people and understanding from local community perspective, what do they want to see, what is important to them. And then we use that to tell meaningful stories about people in place that can inform decision-making on a larger scale. And to really create meaningful impact as designers, we need to think both in systems. Our cities and local areas are part of bigger systems. And we need to think about design, and then again, stressing meeting people where they are, because people in the local communities are the true experts of understanding what is important in their individual communities. Oftentimes, design and planning has been based on modeling and plan view, and experts that look at things from above and look at their computer screens, and that has unfortunately also led to results that doesn't always lead to the greatest experience at eye level. So these results become very visible and very felt for the people who are out using these spaces on an everyday basis. It's really important to get into the eye-level experience, be in a place and really understand how it functions to make it better. And so as a designer, I can attest that this potential conflict that we sometimes have, it doesn't come from bad intentions. There's a lot of good design intent behind decisions, and things like nice materials and high quality benches and things like that is incredibly important. Yet it is also really important to think about the user experience in that and how things are placed in relation to each other. And then the devil is really in the detail. So are there comfortable places to sit where there's shade? In this example, for instance, this is two of my colleagues. This is a beautiful space, really high quality materials, but it's in a city that's very hot. So we're the only people here for a reason, because it's not a very comfortable place to be when the sun is out. So one of the methods that we use to assess public space in our work and understand user experience is what we call the 12 quality criteria. And put it in a simple way, this is really about, it's a type of Maslow's hierarchy of needs in public space. And this is built on 50 years of researching human habitats worldwide. It has 3 tiers. And the first one, which is the baseline, which we have to have, speaks to protection. And this is really necessary for public life to even happen in a space. Without these things being in place, very few people will come, right? We need to feel safe. We need to feel protected. We need to feel comfortable and protected from unpleasant experiences like noise, harsh climate, and traffic. The second layer is about comfort. So this comes on top of the protection. If you have this, you start to see people sticking around, as we say, like people will stop and stay. This is the things that come on top of being able to feel safe and protected in a space. Is things like having places to sit and rest, socialize, and be active in our public spaces. The top layer, this is really what makes a difference between a good place and a great place. When these things are in place, we see a thriving public life. It's about human scale experience. It's about greenery. It's about active building edges, engaging building edges, amenities, businesses to frequent, and other people, right? And then, of course, importantly also, it's about having like a stimulating environment with nice detailing. So to put that in context, this is 2 places in the same city. One on the side, this is my hometown, Copenhagen. One on the right-hand side there is not a very sticky place. It's a place that sees a similar amount of foot traffic as the one to the left, but the one to the left see a lot of people spending time, and I think the images speak to themselves. When an environment really has all the 3 tiers of the pyramid, people feel invited to spend time, and that comes with a lot of additional benefits, social benefits, economical benefits, and so forth. So when we talk about public life, we really frame it as what we do outside of our home, places of business, school, etc., and our private vehicles. And public space in cities are comprised of many things that can be offered through both bigger and smaller transformations. So this example is from Brighton in the UK, where underutilized side street has been transformed into a beloved community place. And this has, in return of being a place for people to gather as a community, also resulted in increased success of the local businesses and the local theater. simply through redesign and inviting more people to walk and spend time. This is still a local access street. Rick mentioned laneways as a potential piece of the puzzle. Also here in West Hollywood. This example is from Melbourne, and it shows how a city that in the 80s was dying. Melbourne was what they call a donut city. Everybody lived around the city center, and the city center didn't see much activity. So there was an intentional process set in place by the city to transform downtown Melbourne to become a neighborhood. And one of the goals they set was, we want to go from 2,000 residents to 8,000. And the way that we as a city is going to help make that happen is by investing in the public realm. And we're going to start with our laneways because they're underutilized space. We don't need them for our citywide transportation system. And they could play a really key role. They have a nice human scale. They just need to be activated more. So the city put funding into redesigning these spaces to be more comfortable, more walkable, have better materials, and then private investment followed. And today, the downtown Melbourne has an intricate system of laneways that are known worldwide as one of the largest outdoor, publicly accessible and free art galleries in the world. And it attracts both locals and tourists. I can attest, having been there myself, that this is a quite incredible experience. And it's pretty small investments, but it's also investments that has allowed local artists to get their name on the map, and really a really important piece of building a community and celebrating local culture. This example is a plaza in Sao Paulo that went from completely unused and a place that felt very unsafe to a neighborhood node where we now see families and students from a nearby university come together. They report that they feel safe, they feel like this is their space, they feel ownership, and they actually take active ownership in activating this space now with programming, from movie nights to concert to food truck events, and even more ephemeral, informal, putting art out there, not by permit, but simply by need and by desire. And it's really become a local community hub in downtown Sao Paulo. This example is a park in Lexington, Kentucky. We worked with the city to look at their public realm as a whole, and one thing we found was that in the summer when it's really hot in Lexington, all the kids are in the fountains downtown. They're not supposed to be. They're not supposed to go in them. It's actually not permitted. But that's where it's fun to be. And meanwhile, out in the neighborhood park, there's no people because it's just a turf. So that's not what you want it to be on a hot day. So why not put the splash pad into the local park and really, lean into a latent demand that we're seeing and creating a community space by providing something that people want to see. And this has really resulted, in something that goes beyond what we could imagine would happen. We knew that this would be successful. We heard from the local community that they wanted to see a water splash pad in their neighborhood. But in addition to this, we're also now seeing communities that are very different coming together in the public realm. So there are 4 neighborhoods abutting this park. They're very socioeconomically different, but now they all come together in this space and actually today also host their own community events, which is quite wonderful. One thing to point out is that we also always talk a lot about, one thing is to provide something that people that might seem sort of obvious. The other is to think about what are other things that you can then layer on top to provide an experience that might invite more people to spend time. So in this example, having shade and some seats for the parents that might not want to be in the splash pad but want to be there with the kids was an important component. So this is where we talk about layering different functions to invite a broader audience and to come together and spend time in the same place. So I want to say that, it doesn't necessarily take much to be nice to people. And this is not something that I came up with myself. This is what our founder usually says. He's 85 and has been doing this work since he was a young man. And he always says it's not necessarily a big cost to create something that invites people to come. It doesn't cost a lot to be nice to people. Like a simple, well-placed bench, a bit of whimsy, a bit of color can really make a world of a difference. So this is an example from Calgary, where on their main street, they took out most of their public seating. And now they're starting to put it back in. And the way that they're doing it is by testing different types of seating. And this one, that is a stacked bleacher seating, it's temporal, it's not meant to be there forever. We actually, with this installation, saw an audience that otherwise weren't really using this street, teens starting to spend time. So thinking about providing different kinds of experiences, even down to like what type of furniture you choose, can have an impact on what kind of audience that you invite for. So intentionality and diversity is really important. So as you probably noticed with a lot of these examples that I've shown, they're not all like big splash. A lot of this is like small interventions that are adapting existing spaces and making a better use of the space we already have in our cities, as Rick pointed out. It's not necessary for all public space to be grand and do it all and invite everybody, but it's important to be intentional for each of the public space typologies that we work with. What do we want them to be? Who are they supposed to serve? And then design them accordingly. Intentionality is really, really critical. So when we talk about POPs and parts as part of, as a component in our public realm network, alongside our alleys, our streets, our sidewalks, our plazas, our parks, let's be really conscientious about what kind of places we want them to be. So we, with that, also ensure that people feel welcome and want to use the spaces. Change is an iterative process. So leaning into trying things out, trying out new partnerships, testing furniture can be a good way to understand what will actually work. And with that, it is important to have a vision, set goals, what you were trying to achieve, measure the impact of what you implement, and to understand if it has had the intended impact. And then it's okay if it doesn't always work the first time, but understanding what worked and what didn't work is critical, because then you can evaluate and adapt and move forward from there. And I think Rick already brought this up, that the city of West Hollywood, I think, is really prime to be a place that leads this type of transformation and can showcase through the work that's done here to other cities that are grappling with the same challenge or opportunity. And the culture of creativity that exists here in West Hollywood can really be harnessed and become something that other cities look to for inspiration. But with that, I was going to say thank you. I look forward to our panel discussion later. Thank you.